4 for no and 1 for abstain.
So that is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. So Melanie's going to move it and Pauline's seconding it, and we'll have the staff presentation. Thank you.
Hello guys, you're on. Cool.
Did you want us to?
I can open it if you like, or do you want to go straight into it?
If you can open it, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Well, the most interesting feature of the community feedback we had on this was that it was precisely down the middle. I mean, literally down the middle. So there's no clear steer there from our community on which way this should go. That's, of course, one input into the debate. The other parts are perhaps more objective in a way or scientific. And we have subject matter experts here to help step you through the science. But there's also some some updated figures. Excuse me. You may recall looking at trends on water use and peak water use during the briefings around this. We've got some more up-to-date information, which is part of this presentation. So I'll hand over.
Thank you. That's where I do come in. I've been asked to just provide you with some updated figures regarding not only water consumption, but again to reiterate the water demand implications. First of all, this histogram is similar to what was previously presented to you. It reflects the water consumption, which is the average water consumption at the customer point for the summer of financial year 2022, previously referred to the summer of 21. In Three Waters, when we talk about a summer, we normally talk from November 2021, from November to March. The next year, that's normally our peak periods. So this graph is slightly different because it looks at that entire period, and also noting that it's an average because it reflects meter readings of customer meters once every 3 months. So it's an average customer usage. So the graph shows essentially, or showed before, that about 78% of properties or customers uses approximately 52% of the water, and that the average demand over summer for those customers are, 989, and the median demand is 480. Now, median demand of 480 means that 50% of the customers uses an average of 480 litres of water a day only, whereas 78% used less than 700 litres a day. Now we go to the next summer, which is the summer of FY 2023, showing the same data, histogram, and it shows the increase in the number of customers that is actually using less than 700 litres of water on average a day. It increased from the 78% to 82% of customers. And it also reflects, it also reflects that now represents 65% of the water. In other words, to also say that it is only 18% of customers that uses on average more than 700 litres a day. You can see, I can show you on the next graph, you will see that the average usage, customer usage over that period, from summer of 21 to summer 22, reduced from 989 average to 790 average. So it's 25% reduction in the peak average water use for customers. The median use, however, is only slightly reduced, again showing that most customers, or 50% of customers, are not so much impacted. Sorry, I just want to, my other graph. It seems that somebody's removed my...
I can't explain that, I'm sorry.
All righty. I had a different graph that also showed to you the as before presented to council, the impact on the peak demand. You can remember that we showed that there was up to a 30% reduction in peak hour, peak day demand. And essentially, again, reconfirming that when we are looking at the impacts of the excess water use charges, it's not only on the average customer demand that we need to look at, the impact is reflected in our peak demand, because we provide our infrastructure to service our peak demand. And for our peak demand, we have reduced, again, a reduction of 21%. In some water supply zones, the reduction has been as high as 40%. So again, what we are saying, total reduction in peak water demand has been 21%, and it's that reduction in the instantaneous peak demand that is measured by our flow meters at the various pump stations, which allows us to tell you that it impacts the future infrastructure long-term plan, because it will require us to install less wells in the next 10 years. And as we previously presented to you, it actually reflects a 150 million saving over a 50-year planning period.
Just have a couple of other comments quickly, if I may. The purpose of all of this was to reduce water use across the city during peak periods, and then our total consumption as well. And we've spoken to you about the benefits that we'll see if that continues. A real example is in the Parklands area. So we've shown, or Michelle's done the calculations, that we've seen a 41% decrease in water usage, which means we can turn off 2 pump stations. So that will be a reduction in OPEX, and it will be a reduction in CAPEX, and not having to upgrade those sites to comply with the new rules as we've spoken about previously. If we look at increasing that allowance to 900 litres a day, that's in jeopardy, because we don't know what's going to happen. We've had an incredibly successful marketing campaign across the city, where we've had huge engagement and seen a really massive behaviour change. So just consider that when you're making your decision.
In other information also that we've provided to you, we've said that if only 25% of the customers should use that extra 200 litres per day over the summer, that we will effectively have lost our peak demand saving that we've realised.
So we are going to be able to put that graph up.
Oh, thank you.
That would be helpful to you. I think it probably would, because the issue here is about peak demand, yeah?
Thank you.
Just 1 minute. I want members to be fully rounded information so that then they can go into the debate fully informed. There we go. It's that number 16.
Number 16 on the left-hand side.
Coming. No, it's got a cross through it. We go back to where we were.
It's maybe because it's hidden.
There, go down to 16.
Go down and
16.
we can
Slide
unhide
16.
it. We can just
That's why I take
unhide
the
it.
cross off it.
It's
That's
there.
the baby.
I'll
That's it.
just unhide it. Sorry. Okay. Never mind.
It's there.
Well done.
Yeah, but it's hidden, so it won't show.
No, it was on screen.
Okay.
Okay,
Just leave it there. Yeah?
leave it there. Right, speak
So-
away.
And
Thank you.
slowly, because that looks quite a complicated
So this is the graph that I was referring to, where it shows in the grey and the clear graphs, area graphs at the back. First of all, it presents our financial year, starting with July until June, and then it reflects year on year with the past years at the back and the last year, FY23, at the front. So you can see the huge difference, and this is data that's from our water supply pump stations that presents instantaneous demand. And that is what is, as we said, that drives our infrastructure, has to be sized to service this peak instantaneous day demand. So you can see that in previous years, it was up there. Financial year 2022, just after the excess charges was introduced, it already had a reduction of 21%. And then financial year 23 is the blue in front, showing the huge drop, not just in the peak period, but also in other parts of the year, but essentially this huge drop over summer. And that is the drop, as I say, that will give us, alleviate the demand on infrastructure. Thank you.
Okay. That's very good. Right, we're all done. You're happy down there? 3. Right, we've got Tyler, please. Then Andre.
Cool.
Questions?
Kia ora.
Questions? Yeah, not debate, Tim. Not debate.
So just to be clear, can we just pull back to the residential water use last summer and saying that 3% of properties, residential properties, use 14% of the city's water?
Yes.
Okay. And the 82% of properties use under the proposed 700 amount, or under 900, which means they won't get charged, correct? So 82% of properties won't get charged even if they head up to that 899 litre
More
mark.
than 82 uses less than 900, 82% actually uses less than 700.
Okay, so if we were going to, say, vote for the 900, does that mean that that goes up to 1100 before they get billed?
No, not necessarily. So at the moment, it's 700 litres plus we apply a $25 emission.
Okay.
So that $25 emission may not apply at that level.
So what's the rates on that $25 emission? How many litres do you need to use over the 700 allowance?
I'd have to do that math.
Okay,
I
no,
do
that's
it that
fine.
quickly in my head.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
But it's 200 a day.
200
It's
to get up to that
it's
25.
It's around
About
$200 a day.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, those residentials, do you know where they're coming from? Is
As
it
in by ward? Or
are they? It says residential, but it's a huge amount of water. I just can't seem to think why we'd use that amount of water, unless it was an industrial or commercial site.
It's not commercial.
all of this
it's
is residential consumption only
Oh,
presented to
okay.
you.
Okay, so essentially 82% of the city won't be affected by this water rates charge, seeing it if they continue to go this way.
Yep.
Okay,
At 700 litres.
yeah, it's 700 litres. Cool. The last question was around. I'm just trying to find it. Just for clarity, is there an update on the water leaks and water meter checks going on around the city? I recall there was a certain amount that weren't checked, and there was like shared properties, for example, that some people in our city felt like it was inequitable. Can you just go over those and reflect over those to make sure that we're just being clear here?
So, I apologise, I don't have the exact number in my head, but it was approximately 18,000 shared connections, and of those, it was well under 300 that would generate a bill if we were billing those properties individually. So for the most part, really high percentage of those shared connections wouldn't get a bill anyway, even if they were separated out.
It's great to know.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Brilliant. Andre?
Thank you. Just sorry, going back one step on the $25. The emission. You said that there may or may not be that. Well, when's that decision made? If you
It's
know.
largely an administrative thing. So we set the $25 based on a really high number of transactions at that level.
Yeah.
When we go up to that next level of 900 litres plus whatever the remission level is, we've got to look at the total number of transactions. So it's likely it will be a lot less than $25.
Okay. And on the reduction in uses that we've had over the last year, which is very good. Whether the limit was 700 or 900, you still had to be more mindful of your use. And presumably people who have received an invoice the last summer will be thinking, bugger, will need to be more mindful next summer. So do you genuinely see the difference between 700 and 900 making a substantial difference in how people are using their water with the need to be mindful anyway? If you know
Again,
what I
as
mean.
I said, you won't see it on the average consumption, but you will see it on the peak demand. And if 25% the users that currently uses more than 700 litres a day, if those users use the 900 litres a day over summer on a weekly basis, you will reduce your savings on your peak demand that you've achieved today.
But it's very hard to keep track of one's water use every day, so presumably you'd have to be more mindful either way. I'm just trying to understand where you see that making a substantial difference to reductions.
Again, it's just it's the difference between an average use and the peak use, and what we've seen to date in terms of the figures, and what we can guess would be the behaviour. If you had a higher allowance, you would use more water readily over the summer period, as what people used to do before the excess water use charges. And therefore we had higher peak demands.
But there would still be that limit of 900, so why would people no longer be mindful?
I think one of the other things to reflect on is the messaging that we've been putting out there around water saving. And that's the key driver here. We've set that 700 litre limit, plus then there's a remission for the $25. But if we now change that and increase the allowance, we're going to have to change all our messaging, and I believe that we'll see a behaviour change there as well.
What would you have to change around the messaging besides the number? Because you're still having that let's use water like you order jingle, which has been driving everyone nuts for some time.
I like it.
Oh, you like it?
Yeah, it's on my YouTube videos.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, that's,
what would change about the messaging? The message is exactly the same, but the number, is it not?
it's up to individuals to
So you wouldn't
reflect
have
on that. I mean, in my mind, if I heard that I was going from 700 litres a day to 900, that says, I can use a lot more water, which then maybe I do, maybe I don't. But that's then when Michelle's comments come in, that if we use that extra 200 litres, you're going to see it in those areas.
Okay.
If everybody leaves the irrigation on for a half hour longer, you will have your peak demands back at the high level that it used to be.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Melanie, did you have a question?
Mine's a financial question, I guess, actually. It's if we increase to 900 litres, like currently, it's the 700 litre, but we don't charge till it gets to 900. So if we up that to 900 litres and we keep in that $25 no charge till it reaches past that point, what volume will people actually be able to use? It must be over 1,000 litres, I imagine. So we haven't heard anything about that, actually, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, we
So
go
I'd
up
like
to
to know
11.
what that is.
I will answer
11.50 per
that.
day.
Sorry, I'll answer it from here. My right to answer from here. So in regards to the extra 25, that was an operational decision. Right? It wasn't a council decision to actually put that. Don't bill until 25 to take into account what our invoicing are and the cost of invoicing. Like for instance, our commercial water charges get a bill after $20, so it's not 25. So we will assess from an operational point of view at where that peak is. When we've just introduced this new rate, we're getting a lot of calls, we've got extra staff on to cover all of that. So at the moment, the cost of it, every invoice is quite high. However, as people move on and those numbers will come down. So that's why it is an operational decision about where we charge. The resolution you're making is determining where we can charge from, whether it's 900 or for 700. I'm likely it will be less. If we go to 900, we will charge from more than 25, less than 25, but I can't tell you the exact number. That's why it's an operational decision.
Okie dokie, Mel, you got that? Good. Marcus?
Thank you. Question for the staff. The nature of a summer being La Nina versus El Nino, is that taken into consideration in your volume presentations? Because I'm picking for the last couple of summers, it's been quite wet summers, so therefore the usage wouldn't have been quite as great. And if we move into a El Nino next year, then I guess the likelihood would be to increase volumes.
We've previously briefed you where we've showed the rain against the demand, and where we didn't necessarily see such a big difference to warrant that was the reason for the difference. So the difference was beyond the fact that you had higher rain in summer in the past year, and it was similar to the rain was similar to previous years, and the demand was high. So therefore we made the conclusion that the impact is really because of behaviour changes of the customers.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kelly, will you hurry up, please?
Thanks, mate. How much of the savings across the city over this period can be attributed to getting our own house in order in terms of leaks, etc.? Because fixing the leaks that we've been responsible for must be a fairly reasonable component of our savings. I mean, can you quantify that?
So the leak program and the leak reduction program is continuously ongoing as is. There wasn't any additional or efforts for leak reduction. I would say there's a program that runs year on year to reduce leaks and to repair leaks. So again, the impact and the reduction in demand is definitely at the customer end, and probably also the reduction in the average demand used by CAF's customers is likely because of private leaks that's been repaired rather than public side leaks.
Sure. So are you saying it's a combination of the reductions that the general public are making because of us highlighting the fact that they're going to be paying for excess water, but also the fact that there's a greater scrutiny on our behalf of leaks?
I think, like, if you look at, I mean, it's hard to quantify how much water or leakage is coming out of every job that we have, but it's the leak repairs have been pretty consistent over the last couple of years, if not a bit longer. We haven't seen a big increase in leak repairs over, say, the last 6-12 months. That's been relatively consistent.
Okay.
The big change has been the introduction of the excess water
Sure.
charge.
Okay, thanks.
Victoria.
It's okay. My questions were along the same lines as Kelly, so I'm happy to leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler.
Just for public knowledge, can you talk to us about the special considerations for large families or those that have medical needs within this structure?
Sure. So we do offer remissions for valid medical reasons, and we have issued and approved a number of those. We also offer them for very large families, as well as for leaks. So if a customer identifies a leak on private property that's generated an excess account, once they get that repaired and provide evidence back to us, we'll apply a remission for those customers.
Right.
Right.
And if the rate goes up to 900, would those 82% of those that usually go under indirectly be paying for those high users through our rates charges?
Sorry, say that.
Is it how it balances out? So if we're talking about subsidising those high users through charging, through our charging. So for example, I'm trying to put this into context. Say we have it at 900.
Yeah.
And would that say that those that are within the sort of 900 to 1,100 litre mark essentially be getting their rates offset by those that are under the usage?
Pretty much. Yep.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so now we're ripping into Hey, Yanni? This is the last question, then we will get into
So we had a deputation about the invoice not being clear to people when people were receiving the invoice for the excess charges. Has that issue been resolved?
It's underway.
So is it fair that we continue to invoice when
No,
we...
it's underway. It's underway.
No, sorry, but we're currently sending invoices out now ahead of it being fixed. When are we likely to have it fixed? And how is it fair that we...
I'd have to confirm that date. I mean, the residents that we've spoken to, that hasn't been I mean, we haven't seen any concerns around that. If you've got specific examples,
They came. I think the issue was they came in with an invoice that said it wasn't clear what they were being charged for.
Yeah, and we're looking to resolve that. as well as doing updates online to our water reporter to add in additional information.
Great answer, thank you, Tim. Right, we'll now move into debate. Who would like to debate? No one.
Yeah, resolution.
Right. So can everyone see that? Aaron's got debate. Yeah, Aaron?
Yeah, happy to debate this one because I always supported us going to volumetric charging because that's by far the fairest system, and other cities that have volumetric charging use a lot less water than us. So if the goal was to use less water, that makes the most sense. I did just some people who may use more water aren't necessarily subsidising those that aren't. I looked up in my rates bill just before where I grew up in St John Street in Woolston, which is obviously a low value property, same size house, and the water charge there is $361 a year. Where I live now in Harewood is $729. So the property value dictates how much you already pay for water. And yes, and then your numbers about the average using 480, perfect mathematical number because the average household population in Christchurch is 2.5 people. I live in a house with 5.5 people. So how much water do you think I use? I'll get chocolate fish for anyone that can double 490. It's around 1,000 because that's exactly how much water our house uses. So this here goes after people in a way that is not fair, not equitable, not anything else. Pure volumetric charging where you pay for every litre you use would be the fairest way. That way, knock yourself out, water your garden all day long if you want to because you're paying for every litre, but you will think about it every litre that comes out of your hose, and that's what works in other cities. This here has thrown the baby out with the drinking water and has not got us a good outcome, I believe. And the other answer around the leaks, getting our own house in order, I agree that yes, we should have got our own house in order, and we have been, because I know now when I put in a call for leaks, they're often repaired within the day. I take photo of the leak, I post it, great job guys. That used to be weeks. There's a thing when you run a hose for days and days or weeks on end, it's called a cumulative effect. You've got more water has come out. That cumulative effect's now a lot shorter because the time to the repair is a lot quicker. So yes, our house is getting in order a lot quicker, and we should be very proud of that. But going after people like this, households that have 5 or 5.5 people, and you may even have someone in your household, I'm not putting my hand up to that, but you may have someone in your household with particular issues that use more water.
Melanie.
But you don't want to ring the council and tell them about it or get a medical certificate to get that backed up.
Melanie?
Those households which use less water, and particularly take care not to over-irrigate, have a rates increase waiting for them, a 0.12% rates increase, while subsidising those households which use excessive amounts of water. But we've just heard that 82% of households are not receiving an excess water charge. And what's fantastic is we've seen an average decrease of 25% consumption of water per household use per day and a 21% decrease in peak water demand. That's impressive. As a council and as a city, we should pat ourselves on the back. Well done. If we increase the volume before an excess water charge to 900 litres, there will be an increased cost to our ratepayer. Again, like with subvention payments, I want to look to the future and what the overall cost to our ratepayers will be. We've been told that without this demand management method, it was in the slides, which is reducing the highest levels of usage at peak times, we would need to establish an additional 11 groundwater wells and associated new pump stations by 2031. What is the cost of that? It's in the slides. It's estimated that 17 million in capital expenditure would otherwise be needed over the next 10 years, not to mention the associated interest costs. A change from 700 litres to 900 litres is a slap in the face to those doing the right thing. And not only that, there's every likelihood that with the administrative cost of invoicing, households may not receive a bill till they're using over 1,000 litres per day. Now that's a huge volume of water and will cost us all with the necessary infrastructure over time. Let's save on our water and save on our rates.
Thank you, Melanie. Jake?
Yep. Look, let's be clear, moving the allocation up to 900 litres renders this piece of policy a useless tool for behaviour change and reducing consumptions. As it stands, a limit that's the same for everyone, and that limit of 700 is a bit of public policy that actually delivers a real saving to our ratepayers. Simply by making everyone think about their water usage, we reduce the demand on our infrastructure and save our community without compromising on service delivery. Now, and I have to say, that stands in stark contrast to the version of this policy that was supported by Councillor MacDonald and that mob that would have offered an unequal allocation of water to those with fancy homes. That was not only the wrong thing to do, it undermined the objective of this proposal, as wealthy people had a limit set so high the behaviour change benefit was lost on them. So I just want to be really clear, this policy was supported by those that are proposing to increase the limit when it didn't affect their residents.
Tyrone.
Look, when you turn on your taps this summer to water your extensive lawn, if you're lucky enough to have one, and think that water's our right to have for free and it never runs out, I ask you to consider this. This summer, visitors and residents of a popular holiday destination in Canterbury will most likely be asked to conserve water. That's right, folks. The water supply in Akaroa and its close communities, Takamatua and Devotional, will no doubt come under pressure following an influx of people who don't live there into the area during the holidays. Our Banks Peninsula communities will probably be asked not to water their gardens, to take only short showers, and to flush the toilet only when necessary. So that's the yellow-brown analogy. And that's just normal, though. That's just normal for them. So in 2021, Akaroa and Takamatua residents also had to boil their water after dead animals were found in the water reservoir. And Akaroa still doesn't have a permanent reservoir after that event. In Devotionals, where sometimes water has to be brought in by tanker, it too has a restricted water supply. People there are asked by council to install a 5,000 litre water tank, which can be, hey, a useful source of water in the event of a fire. So we've got to have think on that multi-dimensional realm with water over there. Little River has a restricted water supply, which means that every house is required to have a storage tank as well. So meanwhile, in Littleton, water flows from a hole in the ground, and it has done for months and months, and we cannot fix it. We cannot, how hard we try, and we cannot fix it. Some would say that is a waste, and they're right. And it proves we need to raise the limit because there's no point saving water. Well, I say the opposite. Our infrastructure is creaking, and we're not resourced to resolve it. We need to focus on fixing leaks, improving our infrastructure, and delivering clean drinking water to our people. Excuse me. On Banks Peninsula, we pay for it in so many ways, not just monetary. I only ask that the people of Christchurch and my colleagues recognise that saving water helps all of us. You just don't know when your community is going to need it. I've heard many councillors say we need to stop people from hurting, that we must do everything we can to reduce rates. Well, raising the threshold for water charges will raise rates. So to say you're all about easing the pain and then voting for a $900 litre threshold instead of this amendment, well, your previous comments don't really hold much water.
Okay, Andre.
Thank you. I came into this annual plan being quite adamant that 700 was the correct amount, but then I went out and did the listening and appear to have changed my mind. I was adamant that the 82% of users who use under 700, surely they would all be opposed to increasing it to 900. I was actually wrong. If we look at the submissions that came through, it's a 50-50 split, right? A lot of the people that support increasing it to 900 actually use less than 700. So there's a lot of people that would pay more under this, but they're still comfortable with going to 900 because water is something that you use to manage your household. I found that quite surprising, so I'm happy to admit I was wrong in how I assumed people would think on the issue. The one-on-one conversations I had I found very, very useful, and 75% of Halls or submissions supported going to 900. That is important as well to note. We do have to reduce usage. We do. It costs, infrastructure costs money. The more water you use, the more it costs in infrastructure, so you're paying for it one way or the other. But I don't think the difference between 700 and 900 will make a big difference to the achievements we've made in water reductions. I just don't see it happening. If it does, my mind can be changed in a year's time. It can. 20,000 people received an invoice for excess water usage. They all used more than 900 litres, those 20,000 households. So they've received an invoice this summer absolutely, if money is important to them, they will be mindful of their usage next summer because they've been invoiced for it last summer for using over 900. And the limit's going to be 900, so they will still be mindful next summer. So I just can't see it making too much of a difference in that regard. Happy to be proven wrong, but that's how I'm seeing it now. We've got some of the best water in the world underneath us, and it does really piss you off when you see someone who might start hosing down their driveway, you nip down to the shops, you drive back, and they're still hosing down their perfectly clean driveway half an hour later. And obviously it's a tragedy to have things like chlorine in our pristine water. So we do need to respect our water more, and excess water charges do help achieve that, but I don't think going to 900 will jeopardise that. And I'd just like to pick up on something because I'm not sure if we'll get the chance to debate it later or not, but in terms of us giving out awards for garden awards, which is essentially giving people awards for encouraging them to use more water to keep their gardens looking good, we're not going to be able to give rebates to people for entering the garden awards because guess what? 20,000 people received an excess water charge last year. And then if we start giving rebates to people for getting a garden award, you know what will happen? You'll get 20,000 people nominating their gardens for garden awards, and you're not going to find anyone to go and judge and rank 20,000 gardens. So it is a nice idea, but there's no way that's going to work, I'm sorry to say. So and to anyone who thinks that writing submissions is not worth the time, because mine's never been changed, you are dead wrong. My mind has been changed on this issue. Thank you.
Kelly.
Yeah, thanks. Look, you know, I totally understand why the last council made this decision to focus on saving water. I think it's really positive. I think it's a good thing to do, but I think the gains have already been achieved. And it's the issue that most people contact me about. They find a lot of frustration with driving down the roads and seeing leaks in the street and then coming home and being faced with water bills themselves. 700 litres is not a huge amount. Where I live, it's 29 minutes of turning on your hose. That fills a 700 litre spa. I think we're tinkering with it, and I'm okay with that. I think that 900 is probably a good level. I felt that we were always told right from the word go that leaks was the big issue around the city. And now it seems to be minimised. I think that leaks, if we get those right, will make a huge difference and are probably part of the difference. So I'm a bit surprised to hear that the search for leaks, etc., has been consistent throughout the last few years. That's not what I was led to believe. So I'm happy to go to 900. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. I think people understand the need to save water. A lot of the people in the area that I live and in my ward are aware that we need to save water and why. Because we use 4 times as much in summer days as we do in winter. I think that people have got that message, and I don't think coming back from it slightly is going to change things too much.
Okie doke. So we're all happy? Sam?
Yep. Just really briefly, I was just going to say thanks to Jake for saying I was in a mob. I've never had that referred to before. But I won't support the amendment.
Okay, so I will now put the amendment. We'll do division, obviously. So that the council retains the allowance of 700 litres of water a day for residential properties before the council charges for their excess water supply.
Councillor Templeton. Councillor McClellan.
Yes. Yes.
We're voting on 700.
If you say yes, it's 700. If you say no, it's 900. Okay.
Councillor MacDonald.
No.
Councillor Johansson.
Abstain.
Councillor Moore.
No.
Councillor Donovan.
Yes.
Councillor Coker. Yes. Councillor Peters.
No.
The Mayor.
No.
Councillor Scandrett.
Yes.
Councillor Barber.
No.
Councillor Kewen. No. Councillor Goff.
No.
Councillor Hanstock,
No.
Councillor Fields,
Yes.
Councillor Harrison Hunt, Deputy Mayor Cotter.
Yes.
Wow. What does that mean?
Was it
It's April.
Status quo, so it doesn't carry.
No.
The man's at 900. Yeah.
Okay, so
For clarity,
Isn't the
for
status
numbers.
quo what we already have?
900 litres.
Just trying it.
so I've got this right. Stays at 900. So
Just announce that for the
that
public.
oi. So for clarity, it's a tie. It stays at 900 litres. Okay, thank you. Now we move on to the
Reflects the public mood.
Jake's moment in the sun. The universal annual charge.